Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and this is a mishmash video that's combining a lot of things from this channel. This is basically a reaction video to Dulles and his message for INFPs, but it's also a reaction video to the reaction videos made by other INFP YouTubers. Older INFP Insights and Bufo Paraglenis. And this is also a crochet poetry corner, but song edition. So I've been doing a lot of crochet poetry, but I've stopped for the past few months because I wasn't feeling too good. But now I'm back at it. And the song I wanted to take up today is Jóga by Björk, which is also something that I've been wanting to do for a long time because it's a very important song for me. And I've talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to be going into more detail this video. And this is a pretty spontaneous video, so I didn't prepare myself to sing. I'm not a great singer, but I'm going to try, okay? And I have the lyrics up here. And this is Jóga by Björk, who is an INFP. All these accidents that happen, follow the dots. Coincidence makes sense only with you. You don't have to speak. I feel emotional landscapes. They puzzle me, and the riddle gets solved, and you push me up to this state of emergency. Is where I want to be. State of emergency. How beautiful to be. All that no one sees, you see. What's inside of me? Every nerve that hurts, you heal. Deep inside of me, you don't have to speak. I feel emotional landscapes. They puzzle me, confuse. Then the riddle gets solved, and you push me up to this state of emergency. How beautiful to be. State of emergency is where I want to be. And it goes on, it goes on, it goes on. And that wasn't great singing, but I haven't sang in a while. I just love this song, and I listened to the orchestral version where Björk is like, it feels like she's in another world singing this song, and she looks like a fairy, like not really like a human, you know. And the lyrics to this song and the punch of the beats, you know, and the strength in her singing is really impressive to watch. And it really shows how INFPs are such deep feelers, because it's kind of like, you know, it is emotional landscapes that you have to explore, but they're confusing, you know, and if you're trying to explore somebody else's emotional landscape, it's kind of confusing. And I was looking up the definition of emergency, but before that, I want to talk about how she wrote this song for her physical therapist, I think. And so that's why she's talking about like healing, because she's like getting a massage and it's like emotional healing, but also physical healing. And I think that INFPs are considered the healer in, you know, archetype terms. And so we resonate with that idea of healing people. And also, I think we talk through metaphors, we talk through stories, and that's what Dulles was talking about. We see the beauty in things, and it's basically telling stories is the way to live. And I think that by talking, sorting through things with different people, we are getting to this epiphany kind of moment. And epiphany is this state of emergency that Björk is talking about. And by emergency, I think that she's not meaning the state like the word emergency. It's rather, I was looking up the etymology of the word emergency. You know, in my INFPs like to reference things and look up definitions of things. Anyway, emergency comes from the Latin emergere. I don't know how you would say it in Latin, but it means arise, bring to light. Now, that's the etymology, but the word emergency means, according to Oxford Dictionary, a serious, unexpected, and often dangerous situation requiring immediate action, which is, you know, kind of the opposite of SE. Well, like that is kind of SE, and INFPs are kind of blind to SE. So we don't really like practical emergencies, because we get pretty stressed out, I think, by that. It's a serious, unexpected, and often dangerous situation. We don't want to be in dangerous situations. But it's kind of the any version of an emergency, where it's like things are accumulating, things are coming together in this puzzle that Björk talks about into the epiphany, you know, all of these pieces. And I think it's kind of like using any NFI to get to an NI conclusion. I think that it's kind of the process that INFPs use as opposed to INFJs. Where INFJs, their conscious mind is somehow or another, INFJs are like, NI is their conscious function, which, you know, since NI is such coupling with unconscious things, I think that INFPs can mimic the same understanding of the world. They can not mimic, they are getting the understanding of the world that INFJs are getting, but through a separate process, which is going through the emotional landscapes and puzzling all of these pieces together, connecting the dots. And then in the end, we get to this conclusion. Follow the dots. Coincidence makes sense. Only with you. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's... Inai does not really believe in coincidence, you know? that things are kind of meant to happen that way. They happen because time is just something that is always ongoing, you know. And so I think that Björk is trying to describe a kind of NI state of emergence, but through her FI and then E. And this is kind of something that I experienced with my INFJ friend a lot. It was this kind of epiphany that like, oh, you know, it is an emergency. Like, it feels like it requires immediate action. It feels so arising, emerging, bringing to light. It suddenly is a revelation, you know. And emergence, I looked up the definition of emergence, and it's the process of coming into existence or prominence, which is arising, you know. And it is like you've got a revelation that has come into existence. You suddenly see it, you know, the eureka moment. And the emergence has a second definition, which is the process of becoming visible after being concealed. And it kind of is like, she talks about connecting the dots, Björk, where it's kind of like shrouded, and then suddenly, like, this is the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters for her is the healing that she's receiving with her therapist, the love that she has for her friend, because this therapist is her friend. And you see the beauty of the world through this state of emergency. And I think that can be met physically, or just through the way that we see the world metaphorically. We can be healed by these ideas, and we live through stories. Stories help us make sense of the world. And it was Bufo Pergolanes who was describing FI as kind of like being in the eye of the storm. It's kind of like that. Like, nothing outside is affecting you. It's just this, you're in this bubble of this is happening. And it's almost like you're not affected by it. You know, it's like when you are in an emergency. When you are in an emergency, when it's really bad, you know, you're just thinking of what you have to do, and like what you find out. It's very here and now. And it really is here and now when you get a revelation as well. It's impossible to explain, but I understand why it feels like you're in the eye of the storm. So there's like this kind of eerie calmness and like you're in a detached form. Somehow these things can exist at the same time. You can be in a euphoric state of emergency and at the same time be extremely detached from it. And those are those things, those times that I live for, you know, and I'm not making any sense, but every INFP will interpret things differently. But I think that every INFP understands the process that other INFPs use, even though they can't. They all have a hard time articulating it themselves. Well, Dillis is a good way of articulating it, but and I do want to touch on what older INFP Insights said about this. She said that sometimes when you tell a story, it's only a certain part that people focus on, or like you really want to say something with that story, but you can't really say it. And so you tell a whole story, and then that's not what other people are getting from the story, and so that can be a little bit frustrating. I also want to touch on something that Bufo said about how like you have to throw a net over all these words to construct a story, which is just a bunch of mess, in order to maybe catch something that will be useful or worthwhile. And that's where you get the catch. That's where you are in the state of emergency, where you're catching the things, you're following the dots, and then you get the one catch. And that's kind of the sorting process of any, and FI is the resonance that you get from that thing. And then you get like NI looking kind of epiphany from it. Truth. You get to truth, which Bufo called it the truthiest truth. Which, yes, you can construct all of these like other truths and throw them all around, but to get to the core, that's where NI is very useful. So being around NI users, you will find the golden nuggets, the core of like the apple or whatever. You will be able to reduce everything into this one thing. It's not all these other things might be true. They're not lies, but they're not the truthiest truth. They're not the thing. And so getting to that thing is that sense of emergency. You're like, we need to get through it into there. And yeah, it's just, I can't explain it better than anybody else. But I think that this song and the lyrics of this song really express the feelings that I get when I'm in that state very well. And I think maybe it isn't very related to Dulce's video, but to me, I myself interpreted Dulce's story as connected to this song and the lyrics there. But there are other lyrics that I could say are relevant. I was thinking of 21 Pilots. Okay, I was that Tumblr girl who listened to 21 Pilots once upon a time when I was a teenager. But one of the lines that really caught my attention was it was, "A kitchen sink to me is not a kitchen sink to you, friend." And what does a kitchen sink mean? It only means what we assign to it. And a kitchen sink to me might mean something totally different than somebody else. And like, why would a sink have meaning? Well, because of our experiences, of our memories, of different associations that our brain makes. And maybe there's somebody who always used to listen to their grandma by the kitchen sink telling her stories, and then they will associate kitchen sinks with their grandma. Or somebody who witnessed something really traumatic next to by the kitchen sink, and associated with this trauma. And that's the thing, is that even inanimate objects mean different things to different people. And that's where I also relate to Dulles made another video about the signification of a bowl and how FI is really about like deciding what the bowl means to us. And that's kind of how that lyric, which is by an INFP, a singer as well, and that's how we interpret stories and we gain meaning from them. By accumulating all these different sources, somehow we piece all these pieces of information together, all of these any things. And through FI, we can like sort through which ones are most meaningful to me, which ones hold the most personal significance to me and to the values that I hold, and which one is, what is the closest to the truth that I deem my personal truth, you know? What makes most sense in my brain. And that's how you can narrow it down as to like, oh, okay, so the kitchen sink means this to me, but it might mean things to different people. But I can use this as a metaphor for something, and it will be interpreted in different ways. And all these ways can be true, but the way that it will help me most to navigate my life is by keeping an open mind and using this one thing as like if it's useful or not to guide me through my life. Another 21 Pilots lyric is about how emotions are difficult to express. But somebody stole my car radio and now I just sit in silence. And it's like, it's a feeling that you can't describe. You know, it's the feeling when somebody stole your car radio and now you just sit in silence. That feeling is, you can guess, you know, what it would be. Would it be frustration? Would it be sadness? Would it be loneliness, anger? A combination of these things? Would it be happiness that you don't need to listen to the radio? People would interpret it in different ways. But in general, what would people think, you know? What would I think? How would I feel in this situation? That is very FI. And so when we tell our stories, we do want to convey something, but it's maybe not what other people hear. But that doesn't really matter always. Sometimes it does. And we have to use other metaphors or other stories to get closer to the point. But that's the way that we communicate as INFPs. We aren't, what was it Bufo said? She said, you don't go to an INFP looking for clarity or simplicity. INFP is just, FI is, combined with NE is basically a recipe for complexity. And everything is so complex. So that's why I cannot make a video telling one message. The videos that I make are, I'm trying to explore different directions. And maybe I will get to a certain point where I'm like, oh, this is very important, you know? But this also might be very important. But what do I want to focus on? And so I see this in my therapy sessions. I see this when I talk to people in general. I also see this on my channel. I often say a lot of shit, it seems. All are truths, you know, but they're not always the truthiest truth. And the videos I'm most proud of are the ones where I come to a sort of conclusion of like, oh, this is the way things are. Or even if the conclusion is just, oh, well, we need to be more open-minded, that is a conclusion, you know. And I think that that comes with the judging nature of like judging in MBTI sense, not in like common language sense, of FI dominance, because we are judging function dominance, where we actually do want to come to a certain conclusion of like what is meaningful in life. And that's what I seek in my videos. I look for meaning and truth by throwing out a bunch of ideas, you know, and talking for a half hour on the internet. But somehow at the end of my videos, sometimes these things come together into a nice whole. Sometimes not really, but I still feel better after having made the video than before. And I think that that's how my videos can be helpful, to like sort out all these ideas that NE gives. And it's often through different stories, different lyrics, different poems, different books, different sources, movies. And somehow all of these come into an eclectic mix together of like, oh, this is it. This is the truth that I wanted to convey all along, but didn't really know how to say it. And so that is the subject of this video, is that it's a mix of different things, but there is different points I wanted to make. There was what the state of emergency, how important that is for INFPs, and how they would come about it with FI and NE, how it can come to a certain conclusion that is like a testament of that there is meaning in the world and in life, and that it's important to tell these stories. It's important to have INFPs around to be able to give us these stories. And even this rambly type of video is useful because nobody else can make rambly videos like an INFP can. So thank you for all that, and have a great day, everybody. Bye.